Good afternoon, Chair McNary. Bob, if you're talking to me, you're muted.
Now, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good afternoon.
I don't see you, but I can talk.
Well, you don't see me because I'm out of range of the camera.
Ah, very good. We got the flag in the background. That's beautiful.
Correct.
There we go. Hi, Dawn. Oh, there.
Hey, Bob.
Aaron. Oh, look like we had a mask on. I was going to say you don't need a mask for this meeting.
I just tried to turn off some of my distracting lights.
You got a white beard. I won't swear to it, but my picture is in there.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think Doug's seeing if we can make us dizzy.
I think he's having some trouble with his connection. He has not been able to unmute himself.
Oh, okay.
Maybe we should get some treats for the wieners now.
If we got a hitch in our giddy up somewhere, Dawn,
I think you're ready to roll. It looks like, or at least according to Paula, Doug's still having a difficult time getting unmuted. Doug, can you hear us still?
well, I do believe 3 is a quorum of 5.
Correct.
There
Oh,
we got Doug.
there he is.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay. So Chair McNary, you may begin.
So, next question is, Paula, are you up?
All set, Chair
I
McNary.
think so. Mhm.
Now I've lost.
Can you hear us, Bob?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I'm trying to make things better, and it didn't work out too well. Now I think I'm here,
Okay.
and I see we've got a pretty full screen. So let me dig back here real rapidly and find our agenda. And if all is up to speed, we're up to speed. I'm going to call the Landmark Commission meeting of January 26, 2022 in order. And I would like to have Paula call the roll call of members, commissioners.
Bev Aggie,
Present.
Forrest Ercole,
Present.
Eric Gleason,
Present.
Doug Leash,
Present.
Bob McNary,
Here.
Scott Randall is absent, and Julie Reynolds.
Here.
Thank you.
I'm a little confused, so I'm going to stop to not confuse myself. Julie, are you a member of us now? If they clearly got you delegated as
No, I'm not, Bob. I'm a liaison from the Fort Dalles Museum Commission,
wonderful. I thought you were going to fill a vacancy
Nope.
here.
non-voting.
All right. Well, then you get to vote. You do not get to vote on the
Nope.
issues, but you're available to give us some kind guidance.
Sure.
Thank you. Forrest, you did a wonderful job a couple of months ago, or maybe it was only a month ago, with the pledge. Would you like to give us the pledge and It is in my upper left corner, so we have a flag today.
I got you covered, Bob. Everyone, please stand. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance
To
to the
the
flag
flag
of the United
of the United
States
States
of
of
America
America,
and to the
the
republic
republic
Which it
for
stands.
which it
which
stands,
stands
one nation,
one
under
nation,
God,
Under God,
indivisible,
visible,
with liberty and justice.
liberty and justice for all.
Very well, very good. All right, we'll move on from there to the approval of the agenda. If anyone has a problem, if you had an opportunity to look at the agenda, and if you were happy with it, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Bob, I would actually like to amend the agenda.
The agenda,
I'd like to amend the agenda to include in discussion of discussing emails from a Mr. Richard Wolf.
So I can go ahead and add that in my public comment if you would, or in my staff comments if you'd like.
I think that would be adequate for if you could tolerate us.
I can accept that.
I'm like you, I was kind of befuddled for a while, but I think they got me straightened out. So I don't think we need to put it on the agenda with just a discussable item. Okay, Eric, you were gonna make a motion to approve the agenda as written?
Yep, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
I,
All opposed? Don't have any people like that. The next item on our agenda is the election of officers for the, I'm presuming it's the calendar year. I've never really had to specify this, would be the calendar year of 2022. And I don't know how our minutes read or how our bylaws read, but it seems we're doing it a little bit late. I don't know. You'll have to either accept me as president today and I'll be reelected 5 minutes or thrown out 5 minutes. Don, are you familiar with the term white paper for a ballot?
Vaguely, but I'm drawing a blank at the immediate moment.
Pardon?
I'm drawing a blank at the moment. No,
You're not familiar with it? Okay, well, I was just trying to, if there was no one that has any objections to the roster, I mean, as the commission as it stands, a motion can be made to accept existing members, and all we need to do is take a vote on that, or else we can do it the other way of having a nominations and seconds and all that sort of stuff. So if you're not familiar with it, I don't want to upset the business of this commission. So I would guess we're going to have to open the meeting for election of president of this landmark commission for the year 2022. So is there anyone that would like to make a nomination for that position?
so it would be vice chair and chair that need to be correct. So chair and vice chair.
Say that again, please.
Oh, I think you said president, but it's actually chair and vice chair.
Okay,
Sorry.
chair of the chair, pardon me. My vocabulary is too wide. The chair of the landmark commission.
I
I
nominate,
nominate Bob.
but I second that.
All right, we have one candidate nominated and seconded. Do I hear another candidate?
I nominate
Another
Bev for vice
nomination,
chair.
I should say. Pardon?
I
Hold on.
Yes,
I
sure.
nominate Forrest for vice chair.
Excuse me, we need to have a vote on chair before we nominate for vice chair.
No, we haven't really done anything on this one yet. We haven't closed the nominations or anything of that nature yet. So I'm waiting for the nominations to be closed or someone else to be nominated.
Or chair, correct?
Yes, Eric.
I'll move to close the nominations for chair of the commission.
Okay, now we've got it open and closed. We're done. We only have one candidate. I guess we'll have to vote on him. All in favor of Bob McNary continuing being chair, raise your hand.
Aye.
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 Yeah. All right, Bob McNary's been reelected as chair of the Landmark Commission. Now we have to elect a vice chair, and I will open the nomination for that position. And we got a little practice on the last one, so we ought to make it go a little smoother this time. I'll nominate him for us. He's going to be our vice chair.
I second that.
All right, now we need another nomination, or we need the nominations closed.
I'll move to close the nominations.
I second that.
All in favor of Forrest being our vice chair for the year 2000, speak up, raise your right hand, say aye.
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 Got the election part of this operation cleaned up and taken care of. Okay. The minutes of our December 15th meeting, 2021. Hope people have had a chance to review them, check their spelling, check the expiration points, and we can either correct them or pass them. We'll need a motion.
I make a motion, we take the December 15 minutes, we accept them.
Thank you. Doug made the motion that we approve the minutes of the December 15th meeting. I need a second for that motion.
Seconded.
Thank you. And there's no discussion on that, so we call for the vote, and all in favor of approving the minutes of December 15th, say aye or raise your hand. If Paula,
Aye.
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 are we going too fast for you, Paula?
No, I'm keeping up. Thank you.
Okay. Very good. Now, turn the page back over. We'll give it a little slowdown here. Is there anyone, I see a couple of numbers and a couple of names on my screen here that wants to talk about anything that doesn't show up on our agenda later on in the meeting. You got 5 minutes if you would like to have the floor and tell us something that we need to know that we can put in the public record. And I hear no one. No one wants to step forward, so we will close that public comment. Now we're over to the staff comments. And
Right.
I'm sure you'll straighten this out, Don. Thank you.
Perfect, I will. Talk about straightening you out. Well, we're gonna have a good time today. So we've got some great things coming. I want to go ahead and show you, I put a list together just so I would not forget some key points. So staff comments, the first one we're going to be talking a little bit later. Obviously, we have 2 public hearings a little bit later, but I want to let you know, if you're not familiar, that the Wall Dogs Committee has selected 15 themes, and they have secured 19 locations or possible locations for the murals for the 2022 Mural Fest. And I provided the list here. As you can see with this list, you have pretty much everything that's, well, not everything, a good portion of what speaks to the Dalles. We have history, and we have even up into, some more recent history with people like Eleanor Borg, and with the Honnold Sign Company. A lot of us knew Gary Honnold and his family, and Eleanor Borg. I wasn't a member, but my sister was actually a member of her dance squad back in the day. So we've got Ben Snipes is one of the discussions, which one of our commissioners owns the original Ben Snipes house. So that's pretty exciting. But I just thought I would go ahead and share this list with you. Lots of thought and process, lots of thought and time was put into the selection as well. So the first 5 were a vote. They did kind of a public outreach, and then the remaining 10 were they'd opened it up. I think it was the second week in January when they finally closed it, and there was a pretty heavy interest in the community on voting. I did not attend the meeting where they announced the selections, but I was pretty excited when I saw the list. So just thought I would share that with you. The second one, I went ahead and added this. Thanks for the reminder, Forrest. Mr.
We
Richard,
just lost Dawn.
whoops, can you hear me? Whoops.
Can now.
Oh, huh. Okay. So Mr. Richard Wolf had emailed all of you as well as city councilors and staff specifically regarding the old Unity and Recovery Hall, which is the old Rectory building that's next to St. Peter's Landmark. I've looked through our code. As you may or may not be aware, we do not have what we call a building official at the city. That our local building codes agency out of Wasco County handles our building codes. So we don't really have that function. However, we do have a dangerous buildings ordinance that is implemented and or enforced by our code enforcement officer. So working through our codes, I was able to find a section in our code that Nikki Lessage is following up with Mr. Wolf and the property owner of that rectory building that's behind the old St. Peter's Landmark. Some of those, I did receive another complaint from another neighbor about cornice falling off, about some additional things flying off of the roof during a windstorm over the last 6 months. So there's definitely some things that need to be repaired. We're working on those. What we may want to do too as the historic, or you may want to do as the Historic Landmarks Commission, is to take a look at possibly adding some additional language in the future in some code revisions that, really address the demolition by neglect, which we've all talked about it. We don't really have any teeth in our general historic code that deals with situations like this, and how can we mitigate and or try to help property owners not get to this point where their building's falling apart and it's basically being demolished by their lack of care. So that is being worked on. Do you guys have any questions on those emails in addition, Forrest?
Did he respond appropriately after being contacted by the city? I mean, he sent quite a few emails with pictures. I just want to make sure he was followed up with, because I only sent him an email. I got your photos. I will talk about it at the next meeting.
Okay, so I will verify that. I'm assuming that our code enforcement officer has reached out to him. And over the last few years, Nikki and I have been in contact with him. I do want to point out too, I'm not sure if your email included photos of the clock tower building. He had some concerns regarding stability of that building, and Mr. Mark Powell is the owner of that building, said it's completely sound. He's had it fully engineered. That exposed brick was just remnants of the addition that was originally removed, and then when he took off the non-historic addition, that is still exposed, but it's completely sound. There's also a rain spout that's coming down the side of the building. It's completely intact. It just looks like it's hanging there. Mr. Powell said it's fine. He had his engineer take a look at it. So, I mean, that may be removed here with some of his new renovations that you recently approved this last summer. So, and I think, were those the two historic buildings that were on? Someone forwarded me that email. I don't remember any other historic buildings. Yes.
The sidewalk on 3rd Street by St. Peter's Landmark was one of the photos there, and Alan actually had sent something to the city. There was like a matching funds thing, special offer to split cost to repair things, and he applied for that November 1st, 2020, and we're still waiting to hear back on that one. So we have addressed it. I don't know if we got the money or whatever, but we're aware of what shocking condition that sidewalk is. Anyway, I just thought I'd mention that.
Perfect. So sidewalk repairs at St. Peter's, and that you said November 20 rather than 2021?
No, November 1st, 2020 is what I wrote down when Alan sort of mentioned it to me. I thought, oh, well.
Okay.
It's still pending. I don't know if that offer still is out there. It was like a matching funds offer or something, but we were aware of it. And Doug could probably speak to that stuff better than me, since he's, the head of all that. So,
Okay, well, I mean, what I will do is I will check in with the city engineer and report back to the next meeting to let you all know, well, obviously, and then have them reach out to Alan and or Doug to give, an update as to what's going on there and what's expected.
Don, I just have one more question on that.
Yes.
Is 307 4th Street, are there residents living there currently, or is it abandoned currently?
there's one
So-
gal living, oh, sorry, Dawn.
No, you're fine. So according to some of the neighbors, I have heard that there is the property owner's daughter is living in the basement of that building.
Okay, thank you.
And it's in pretty bad, the roof, I think it leaks, there's broken windows. It could really use some TLC, and, hopefully this will be enough for, to spearhead some conversations at least. Okay, you bet. Columbia Brewery update, another one for Forest. So I did talk with Mr. John Hartung, who is the owner of the Columbia Brewery building, as well as the old train depot that houses Cannon Packer. He oh my gosh, my brain, I kept hearing my feedback there. He actually had somebody looking to go in to that building pre-COVID. And it was actually a brewer. So unfortunately, that changed after COVID hit. So now what we're looking at, or what he's looking at, is anybody who's interested. Obviously, he would love to have a tenant in there, and he would love for the historic use to be retained, but he's open for pretty much anything. And at this time, it's just storage. That kind of goes into the next one. Mr. Hartung also is interested in getting a historic plaque. And let me grab this really quick. So similar to these. Sorry, had it set up on my chair. The historic plaques, as you remember, we did receive SHPO grants or grant money for that. And that's not an option anymore. So I have been working with Optimus Printers, and we are looking to get some cost estimates to get those historic plaques made. And and just to be really clear, the city's role and the historic landmarks role will be content and to ensure that that property that those plaques are placed on meet our requirements and have historic data on those plaques. We won't be able to help facilitate any funding, but I will help, obviously with getting, a location that can build these. In the conversations we've had, luckily, as you all are familiar with or not, the college now has a new skill center, and that skill center actually has a large fabricating, like a metal that they can cut metal out. I think it's like a laser cutter. I'm not sure what it's called. And we've actually talked with Robert Wells Clark, and he is interested in having his students cut these shields, and then we would end up having them fabricated, or the verbiage and the paint and everything be done down at Optimus Printers. So keeping it local, kind of an exciting thing. So I'll give you some updates on that. And as soon as I find out the price, I'll probably do a mail out to all the property owners that have plaques, those that don't have plaques, and just seeing if anybody needs theirs restored, updated, or if they would like a new plaque. Pretty exciting. In addition, the historic walking tour, we have that existing walking tour that is on the AutoCast app that I've shown here on the green. The tour, we've got created QR codes, so you can actually scan a QR code and that'll actually pop up the app. You download the app and it'll tell you a story about a building. Working with the Dalles Art Center and the All Together the Dalles process or program, we're looking at getting some small shields made with those QR codes to be placed on those buildings that are in that historic walking tour. And that, again, I'll be helping facilitate that design. The Art Center is the one that's looking to get a grant through the Oregon Cultural Trust grant. So right now it looks like everything's gonna keep moving forward. We stopped by Sigmund's the other day and kind of put one of those smaller plaque below the shield on the Sigmund's building, just to kind of see size, to make sure it doesn't overtake the shield. And I think we're going to make it work. So as soon as I get those designed, I'll be bringing those back to you.
Don, do you know
Yes.
if the existing app is working for Android phones? Because last couple times I've tried to get onto it, I'm just getting like this. It's horrible. The spinning pinwheel of,
Oh, really?
yeah, I can't get onto it. And I've tried to show people like, oh, look at this. And I'm downtown the Dalles and nothing.
Nothing. Okay, let me check with, I did talk with the developer today about a desktop version. He's currently working on the desktop version. So my understanding was that Android, iOS were both options that were functioning properly. So I will shoot an email back to him and verify that and let you know.
Thank you. Because yeah, it used to work for me. And just recently that I've noticed it's not working anymore on my Android. I don't have a iPhone to test it. Yeah. But.
Well, and I think he is doing some updates. So maybe that's why we're getting a little bit there.
Thank you.
You bet. So SHPO grant time, I am planning to submit for an expansion of the existing walking tour. So we have all those properties, which I believe we have 55 properties. We'll be adding the additional tour properties that were listed on the other 3 walking tours of the Dalles. And we also are talking about potential, may include existing murals. So all the murals that are still going to be remaining in our community, those historic looking murals that we have, also may include the new Waldron murals that you're reviewing today, or at least 2 locations today. And then the third one is the potential of adding the neon sign art installations. So hopefully, I'll take a look at the numbers and see where we come up with, and those potentially may be also added with that grant. I did talk potentially yesterday. I had a meeting with the State Historic Preservation Office for a little training workshop, and we talked about the potential of bringing a workshop to town. And I think we're going to wait a little longer, although Lucian Sverdlov, who is the gentleman who has done our classes from Plaque, so he's still doing them, but I just think we're going to take another year, and then maybe the next round we'll do some like workshops to get some more of those trades done here in town. Okay, so that is all I have for staff comments.
Thank you, Don.
You bet.
Well, Commissioners, Eric, you're next to me on my picture board. Have you got anything that you think that we should be aware of? And I know the drugstore is very much in your mind, but let us know what we're thinking. We should be.
Okay, yeah. So we're kind of awaiting the engineering report on the Waldron Brothers drugstore to kind of see what our next steps are with that project. Let's see, the Wing Hong High Company store down on First Street was featured in an article on Oregon Historical Quarterly. And also the Oregon Historical Society is talking about doing an open house there end of June, the last weekend, I think, in June. So we'll keep everybody up to date on that. So, and let's see what's going on at Fort Dalles. Just doing some renovation work. We put some interior storm windows in there that just kind of fit into the openings. So, and they're an interior kind of thing. So they're mostly to cut down on UV infiltration to help kind of protect the artifacts, but they also have a kind of a weatherization as well. Those seem to fit in really well and they blend in. So they're pretty much invisible. Well, they're totally invisible from the outside and pretty much invisible from the inside as well. So that's been pretty good. And then we're talking about, rather than building a whole new wagon building, doing an addition and covering in the front of the open wagon shed. So that's still kind of in the planning process. I suppose as soon as we get some designs, we'll bring them to the commission and get some input for that. I think that's about it.
Thank you, Eric. Sounds ambitious for the museum. All right, Bev, how you been?
Oh, I've been good. It's not really about history, but my daughter and her boyfriend came from South Africa for 3 weeks. They just left on Sunday. So that was nice. And they're both human rights lawyers, and he's really into indigenous people and, just, I don't know, saving the planet, all that stuff. But he met with Lucy Begay. We had a nice meeting there, and there were some interesting things about, I don't know, just some, I don't even know the details of it, but it was pretty wonderful. And he wrote a wonderful poem about, they stayed at Trevitt House, and he wrote a poem about Trevitt House and the history, and I'm going to print that. So it's really more personal things. But Don stole my big story was Ben Snipes got on the mural. So I was happy about that. I thought that was pretty cool. That's about it. Just, you know, just here with Mr. Eggy and my wiener dogs, enjoying the Dalles.
Thank you, Bev. Of course, you sound like you've been out still nosing around finding out things.
Yeah, I've already mentioned the gist of what I've gotten though, so you've already heard my gist.
Okay, we've covered the commissioners, and we haven't either. There's Doug sitting down there in the bottom. Doug, what's happening down the street from me? Oh, Doug isn't on air.
Commissioner Elise, you're muted.
Push another button, Doug. We're going to need your input a little later, Doug, but we're going to move on. And I'm
there he
sure
is.
you'll.
Am I muted now?
No, you're here.
Okay, Michael pushed the right button. We got out our newsletters, about 130 or 40 of them, which are annual. We had 4 stained glass windows that were taken out and being recamed and refurbished. And those are put back in by David Slicker. And then we put the new gate in on the walkway that goes to the basement. And I had a sign made. It isn't very big, but it says private property, no trespassing. I'm going to show the board that sign at our next board meeting and see whether they want to use it or not. People are still going in. We have that gate, but today when I went down to the landmark, there were a couple of those pads that you put in your furnace to keep stuff from going through, and there were 2 of them there. Somebody was sleeping down there either last night or the night before. So I don't know how we can get away.
Sounds like you got an ongoing problem. I hope that I'm audio. We're getting feedback from somebody. We'll get back to you, Doug. You work on your audio, and when you get it going flat at it, we'll let you talk again. Julie, you've sat through this quite regularly. You have anything? You're not a commissioner, but we're treating you as one. You got anything you want to tell us that we should be aware of?
No, thank you. No comment.
Okay, fine. Now you keep listening because we might need your help. All right, go on from there. We have 2 public hearings coming up, and I will reach over behind me here and get the torture chamber for me, but that's fine. Is there any other things that we should be thinking about before we go into the public hearings? Okay, hearing none, seeing none. Now is the time specified by the Historic Landmarks Commission to conduct a public hearing. The purpose of this public hearing is to consider the following matter, and it is application 19421, the Dalles Main Street Waldron, address 320 East 2nd Street, and the request is to paint a mural on the south facing alley wall. The substantial criteria upon which the Historic Landmark Commission will base its decision in this manner are obtained in the city comprehensive plan and the land use and development ordinance. A public hearing is required by law and certain rules apply. First and foremost, you must be recognized by the chair in order to speak and present testimony. When recognized by the chair, Please proceed to the microphone and state your name and mailing address for the record. This hearing is required by law to be taped recorded. Generally, the public procedure is as follows. I will open the public hearing with a staff report. Purpose of the staff report at this point is to further identify the applicable criteria of the case being considered and to provide background information about the case. After the staff report, we will hear testimony from the proponent, those persons in favor of the application. Next, there will be testimony from the opponents, those not in favor of the application. Next, there will be testimony from anyone who wishes to offer testimony or ask questions either way. Then to honor their right of rebuttal, we will again hear from those in favor of the application. To expedite the hearing, the commission members may ask questions of people as they testify. When this process has been concluded, we will close the public hearing portion of the public testimony portion of the hearing. During the hearing, some important standards apply. First of all, those who testify must hold their testimony to the decision criteria. As in all land use hearings, there are certain set of rules, procedures, and criteria we must follow. Second, failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the commission members and the parties an opportunity to respond to that issue precludes an appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. Third, the failure of the application to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval with detailed specifications enough to allow the city to respond to the issue precludes an action for the damages in circuit court. Fourth, prior to the conclusion of the public hearing, any participant may request an opportunity to present further evidence, argument, or testimony regarding the application. If such a request is made, the law states that the commission shall grant the request by either continuing the hearing to a time and date at least 7 days from the date of the initial hearing, or the record must be kept open for that period of at least 7 days. Are there any, those are the rules, are there any questions? All right, hearing none. I have to ask if any of you commission members have had great contacts, points, conflict of interest, or bias on this particular application. Hearing none. Now, the next thing I'll have to ask for, is there anyone in the audience? I don't think commissioners are eligible to do this, to challenge the qualifications of any members of the commission. Or after. Is there anyone there that wants to say anything? So no one has any conflict of interest and nobody has any questions about how qualified we are. I'm going to say the public hearing is open at this point, and Dawn, you were there with our staff report. Have I missed any items?
I have not. Perfect. Thank you, Chair McNary. I'm going to start the slideshow now. Whoops, got a little ahead of myself there. So as you stated, this is for Historic Landmark Commission number 194-21. Applicant is the Dalles Main Street as well as the Wall Dogs. Today we have the applicant's representative, Mr. John Lehman, here to answer any questions and give any testimony as needed. Just to give you a little idea of where this location is, I'm sure all of you are very familiar. Located on the corner of 2nd and Federal Street, the former the Dalles Chronicle. Its parking lot actually abuts the alley in which you will be able to see the mural, if accepted. Giving you a little bit of a street eye view of the existing conditions on 2nd and Federal Streets. There's the corner. There's an existing mural that will remain at this time. And then this is a little different view coming from Federal Street, as well as showing the alley location where the sign will be placed. The proposed mural location will be on the rear and will be approximately 19 feet by 24 feet. The historic status of the building it's classified as as non-compatible, non-contributing in our Dalles Commercial Historic District. A notification was mailed to property owners within 100 feet, as well as published in the local newspaper, and notification sent to the Oregon State Historic Preservation Office. The historic name of this building is Vote Block, and there is one thing that I was saying today in taking a look at this. I provided a view from the Chronicle parking lot, or actually 3rd Street, to take a look. The great thing about some of our alley views is that you still see remnants of the history and the building that was there. And I'm going to go back a couple slides to show you that obviously the historic facades are completely removed on the front. However, you still see some of the remnants of some windows and cutouts that are still remaining. So that's kind of cool. This mural is planned to not be in any of those locations nor obscure any of those existing window openings. The structure was built circa 1900 and extensively remodeled in the 1962s, as you can see from the front view. The applicants are requesting to place a mural painted by the Wall Dogs. And so what that means is the Wall Dogs Mural Fest will be happening in late August. The program brings in artists from all over the United States, and I actually think different countries too. And they take themes that I shared with you in our staff comments, and they basically do a artistic rendering of that theme. And if you guys want to take a look and dive into a little bit more as to what the themes could entail, I can also provide you a link after the meeting that gives a little bit more detail about some of the subject matter included within those topics that were selected. So on this building, the rear facade is actually already painted. And the design, obviously, I just said, has not been determined, but it'll be similar to other teaser murals that have been placed in our community. And if you haven't been at either one of these, I would highly suggest you take a couple minutes and drive up and take a look. This one I get a look at every morning when I come into work. And this picture does not do it justice. It's a phenomenal paint job. I mean, the cherries look real when you stand there and look at them. So this is an example of the high quality of work that we'd be looking at. This one was done, I want to say this was like 1.5 years, 2 years ago. Then we ended up having to postpone the Mural Fest, and now it's coming to you. This one was actually done, I think, early fall, late summer. And this one is over at the Oregon Motor Motel parking lot, which is actually on 3rd Street, and kind of kitty corner from, if you're in the Burgerville parking lot, you can look over and take a peek at it. Just another phenomenal mural. So that kind of gives you an idea of the level of artwork that we'll be seeing in these murals. Again, the location or the specific content and the chosen content for each location has not been determined yet. That's going to be coming later. So staff believes that this application in all respects meets the standards of our Secretary of Interior standards, as well as our Dalles Municipal Code, specifically pertaining to design guidelines features, and is recommending it be approved with 4 conditions of approval. One being completed in substantial conformance to the proposals as submitted and reviewed. 2, applicant will be required to obtain a sign permit approved by the Community Development Department prior to the mural being painted, installed. 3, chemical or physical treatments such as sandblasting that can cause damage to historic materials shall not be used. Surface cleaning of the structure, if appropriate, shall be undertaken using the gentlest means possible. And number 4, the alteration/addition of the mural to the historic structure will be required to follow historic design guidelines for the Commercial Historic District. The mural will be required to be compatible in massing and size of the building, and care shall be taken with the painting. Do you have any questions of staff?
All right. Has anyone got any questions? I suppose Mr. John Lehman, is that pronounced, sir?
John Lehman. Yep.
Lyman, okay. You will be the one that's going to be what we're going to say or going to explain to us what you're going to do. So we're up to bat right at this point. If no one has any questions at Dawn. So tell us about this nice painting on.
Well, like Don said, the
Excuse me, Chair. We need him to state his name and address for the record. Sorry.
John Lehman. My address is P.O. Box 331, the Dalles, Oregon, 9705. How was that?
Great, thank you.
Good, good. So, as Don mentioned, the theme for this wall has not been chosen that I know of, but it will be one of the themes that Don showed earlier on a slide. The picture showing the outline, the 19 by 24, there's going to be a team of wall dogs assigned to each wall that gets chosen for a painting. And the team leader will decide the final mural content and design. It may be a little bit different than those dimensions, because if you notice in the picture, there's a car or a truck that's in the foreground in front of that. So they may choose to use a portion of the wall above it, to make sure it's clear view. I'm not sure of that, but I know that's a possibility. Prep work on this wall here, it's already been painted, so painting over the top is not going to damage or cause any kind of deterioration to the existing brick. It's already covered with paint. Prep work will start with very gentle power washing with soap or a very mild surfactant that's going to remove dirt and oils and loose paints. Very mild, like Don mentioned, no sandblasting whatsoever will be allowed or will be performed on that. Just mild power washing. Then a base coat, a latex base coat, probably matching the color of the background of the mural when it's designed, will be applied to cover that section of the wall that's going to be painted. And then when the mural fest kicks off, they'll do that. And the first night, they will, in the dark, project the image up there, transfer it by hand. These guys, the wall dogs, are versed and professional painters, like Don said, from all over the world. They do amazing things with walls on big scales like this. It's like old billboard type production where you project it, you put lines up there to get the basics of the design, and then the next day in the daylight, you paint on the rest of the image, and amazing pictures will develop as they go. It's going to be great to watch. I think that's the gist of it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You are having kind of a problem in the sense you don't know what it's going to look like either. So we'll just have to wait for that to happen. I don't think it'll have any consideration in our decision. Don, if I may ask a question.
Absolutely.
This building is non-compliant anymore. It's been modified too long. But are we outside of the historical district?
We are not. So this is still located in the commercial historic district.
Okay, I thought it was a block up, but it's still this one. Across the street on Federal is not in the historic district. Is that right?
I think up on 4th Street, you may be correct. I think it does end.
I'm thinking about the one down on 2nd Street.
I think another block to the east, it may be out.
Yeah,
Correct.
right.
Yes.
Okay, but I just wondered, because we are being asked about doing these things, that I felt the only criteria we would have for that is it's in the historic district.
So, right, and just so you all know, I have worked very closely with John and other members of the committee to ensure from the beginning that they were aware of any location that they were going on. I tried to get them to avoid primary buildings or primary unpainted buildings. And so they have, what I say, 16 location, no, they've got 19 locations selected or potential that I will be bringing to you, but I actually have mapped those out and given them details on, does it need to go to HLC or does it not? And a majority of those locations they've chosen are in our core downtown and in our commercial historic district. Today we have one in commercial, this one, and then we also have one in Trevitz. So we've mapped it out. So get ready. You guys are gonna be busy for a full year.
Thank you. All right, anybody else got any questions to Mr. John? Eric, you're sitting there looking like you want to do something, nothing? Okay, well, now we'll go to anybody that's opposed, an opponent of this operation. Is there anyone in hearing that would like to testify against doing this to the wall? Hearing none. We're back to you, John. You got anything to say other than go for it?
I don't. I'll go ahead and share my screen and give you guys the staff's recommendation if you would like to see that. Can you see?
Please do.
Okay. Current slide. There we go. So commission alternatives. My recommendation is number 1. There's a couple different options that you can. Oh, what? Whoops, I didn't change that. Sorry about that. Oopsie.
Get out of there.
Sorry. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, here we go. Current slide. There we go. So staff recommendation, and then I've got a couple other options there, which you can approve with modified conditions and or decline the application.
All right. Commissioners, what are we thinking? Well, I don't like this as a parliamentary point, but we got a lot of things to take care of yet tonight, so I'm going to make a motion that we accept this application, 194-21 for the Main Street Wall Dogs, 320 East 2nd Street, whatever it is. It's all written out up there. I think that's a wonderful recommendation. Somebody second it for me, please.
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion?
No, I just like to say that I think they did a good job of picking this location because, you know, it's going to be both visible from, you know, the 3rd Street and the alley, but also kind of not on the primary facade of the building. So I think it's like a perfect place.
Would somebody like to call for the question?
I'll call for the question.
I think Doug's trying to work with it, but I don't know that I heard him, but maybe somebody else did. So let's go for a hand raise. Doug can't seem to talk to it. Everyone in favor, raise your hand. I don't have anybody to oppose it, so that application has been approved. Now we're gonna go, without me reading a whole lot, we're gonna go into application 195-21 Main Street Wall Dogs, 401 West 4th Street, and to request to approve another mural. Now, no one has entered our audience that I'm aware of, but is there anyone that wants to confess that they got a conflict of interest at this point with this location? So we're gonna say that they don't. We know they're confident because they're still here. So I think I've covered all the bases, Dawn. Am I right? Are you ready?
I am ready.
I don't think we dare delete any of that, but we do have a full agenda yet, so do what we have to get this up and going.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen really quick here and share from current slide. Okay, so as Chair McNary explained, this is Historic Landmark Commission number 195-21. Again, same applicant, the Dalles Main Street and Wall Dogs. The property is located at 401 West 4th Street, owned by Triple W Properties, which it does appear that the property owner, Mr. Wally Wolf, is actually trying to log on. I'm not sure if he's got on here yet. And obviously our applicant, John Lehman, is here to answer any questions. Just to kind of give you an idea, we're all pretty familiar with where the Dalles Veterinary is located in our community on the corner of 4th, 3rd, and reaching out to 3rd Place. Pretty key corner of our downtown, also located in our Trevitz Historic National District. The building, the veterinary building is classified as non-compatible, non-contributing, same as the previous application. However, this one's located in the Trevitz Historic District. Notification was made to the local property owners within 100 feet, published in the local newspaper, as well as delivered to the State Historic Preservation Office. As of the date of the staff report, and today I have not received any public comments. Staff is recommending approval with conditions based on finding of fact. Just to kind of give you a little bit of background, this obviously there is no historic name for this building because it was built in the 1970s. And actually, I do find it alarming considering I was born in 71 that we are at the 50-year point now. So this could technically qualify as historic, but currently it's not listed as historic in the district. The property building is a one-story elevation on the south side of the building, which will be where the mural is located. And on the north facing side is a two-story building, veterinary office here, as well as mixed use located in that building. Okay, let me go ahead and show you here. So current conditions, so this is the 4th Street facade, and I want to thank you. I didn't say it last time. John Lehman presented one of the best most complete application packets that I've seen in a long time. So kudos, I appreciate that. Makes my job much easier. So this is actually a street view that gives you a little bit of a view as to where this is located. There is a set of stairs that comes down, so it is slightly obscured seeing from this street because of the trees and the foliage. However, driving down 4th Street in Trevitz Historic District, you would be able to see this mural. And I think, John can answer some questions about it. I think their plans were to be a little bit more off the beaten path to kind of get people into our downtown and take a look and enjoy, getting out of their car and actually walking around our community. This was in the application, a proposed mural location right next to a parking lot, and then obviously the walking down or the stairs that go down. The proposed mural is approximately 24 feet wide by 12 feet in height. Again, showing you guys the two teaser murals to kind of give you an idea as to the flavor of what is anticipated for the future sign. Staff has made a conclusion that in all respects, this application meets the standards of the Secretary of Interior and the Dalles Municipal Code, Title 11-12 of Historic Resources, and with the 4 following conditions of approval. So same conditions of approval as last time, basically work completed in conformance as what is submitted. They'll need to get a sign permit, no physical or chemical treatment or sandblasting of the building. And then that they'll just need to make sure that they meet historic design guidelines and be compatible in massing and size of the building. So do you have any questions of staff?
Okay, we're back to John again, and John, I don't know for sure, but I think it'd be wise if when you introduce yourself, if you gave us your address again, because these will be handled as separate files. You're up. You're not on, but you're up.
I'm up.
You're up.
Sorry about that. I was waving at someone walking by the office. I'm kind of on display here in my office. There's a big picture window and people walk by daily and wave at me and say hello. And I'm usually in a meeting. No, not usually, but I don't, did Doug need to say anything? Doug,
She's already spoke her piece.
Why-
We're waiting on you, but like I just got through, it would be proper if you re-identified yourself with name and address.
okay. My name is John Lehman. My address is P.O. Box 331, the Dalles, Oregon 97058, and that's my business address here in the Dalles. The same that I submitted earlier.
Thank you.
Um,
That's why we're gonna have this second mural.
So it's about the same situation as the other application, except this is I say pristine, very dark, natural brick wall, very beautiful wall that lends itself well to a mural. And the one thing different on the prep and painting of this wall is because it is so clean and clear and beautiful dark, we're going to, or the wall dogs are going to put a clear coat. I'm guessing a latex type material, but a clear coat to seal off the wall. So then after that, it will get primed so that primer doesn't go into the pores of that natural wall that is in such good condition. This would allow it to be cleaned off in the future if ever that was to be the case, and bring it back to its natural dark brick look. Otherwise, the same procedure will probably be used or will be used to get that painted, to get that historic mural painted on there. The same steps that I described for the last one. In the photograph that showed the dimensions of that mural area, I'm thinking that it's going to be using, the wall dogs will use that entire area for the mural. I mean, it just seems natural. It's a beautiful wall that, like Don said, you'll see it driving west on 4th Street. It'll stand out beautifully. Another thing about these wall murals is they aren't in a perfectly viewed street situation where you drive by and you see it like a sign. These are in obscure locations, tucked into little hidden areas, next to little parks or parking lots, alleyways. It's going to give the public kind of a treasure hunt of murals, if you will. They have to seek these out, and it may be through a pamphlet that is developed, which I understand will be developed, to give them an idea where these are going to be located. And then they will come into our town, tourists, visitors, families, local residents, and they will find these for themselves and the glory that is associated with each and every one of these special historic murals. So it's just a really exciting event, and it'll be paying dividends way into the future. I think that's all I have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone that would want to ask a question on this particular wall? Any commissioner? Hearing none, we will go back to fourth and go sleep on here because they're really. Go back to the regular procedure. If you have nothing more to say, we will be closing the public hearing and go into deliberations as landmark commissioners. Is there any questions that any one of the commissioners would like to ask of anybody other than me? Hearing none, is there someone that has made up their mind that they can make a motion? And Dawn's helped you out here. She give you recommendations. You got to be smarter than I was, so read it. I just wasn't even smart enough to do that. So,
I would just like to express a little concern about this one's location compared to the first one we saw. The first one was, yeah, you could see it driving by. This picture happens to be very fortunate to be during winter / fall time, and no cars parked right in this spot right there because I take my dog to that hospital and walk around there. There's usually cars right there, and during springtime, I have a picture up on Google here on like Google Street Views. There's a full tree in bloom, so I'm just questioning how often is this going to be seen unless you're like me, taking your dog, walking around that place there. I mean, driving by, it'll be, what was that? Was that something that I just saw right there? Because it's only in that one direction, and there's a big tree, and then there's going to be the cars, and that's my only concern about this one location. I'm not saying it's a bad location because, again, I would love to see something right there on that big, naked, beautiful wall. It's a perfect wall for a big mural, but I just have concern about how this will be during springtime when everything's in bloom.
Is that a question for me?
So Chair
No,
McNary,
question.
just, okay. Chair McNary, you did close the public hearing. So if you did want the applicant to comment, we would have to open the public hearing.
yeah, I'll have to reopen it for it.
That was just a comment. It wasn't really a question, just a comment for the commission.
If you're waiting for us commissioners to answer that one, I don't have an answer. My part. Eric, you want to put something in?
No, I just wanted to commend them again for thinking kind of a little bit outside the box and thinking about reversibility and the future as well. So I think it's good that they're talking about sealing that wall before painting it so that the mural could, you know, in the future, if somebody wants to remove it, it's removable without kind of leaving a permanent trace on the wall. So that's all I wanted to say.
I'm glad you brought that up because I don't see anything wrong with a bare wall, but we do have this movement going that we want to get more murals, and unless we start building walls, we're going to run out of room here for long. So I agree with you there. I'm still waiting for someone to either make a motion. I made the last one. That isn't fair. Somebody else ought to be able to make one.
I guess I'll make the motion to approve application HLC number 195-21 of the Dalles Main Street and Wall Dogs with the four proposed conditions of approval based on findings of facts detailed in the staff report.
That's wonderful.
Second it.
We have a motion that's been made and a motion that's been seconded. Is there any further comments before we call for the vote? At this point, I'm going to call for the vote, and please raise your hand because I don't know just where Doug is. All in favor, raise your hand.
Aye.
All in favor, all opposed. If they have anything to say, they're not here. We will close the public hearings, and we have two pieces of paper to take care of before we move to the next item. And that is our historic landmark resolution. We'll take these separately, of course. First resolution is 183-22-22. And this is for the one on Federal Street and East 2nd Street. Sure, yes. Okay. The conditions of approval are kind of hard for me to keep track of, Don.
So each one of them had basically the same four conditions of approval.
I'll make a motion that we move to approve resolution HLC number 183-22, approving application HLC number 194-21 of the Dalles Main Street and Wall Dogs with the four conditions of approval.
Thank you.
Second.
Oh, I did hear a second.
I'm second. I'm just laughing because that's all I do is just second.
Sorry, I took my eyes off.
gotta do something.
Okay, fine. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand. There we go. All right, now we'll go to that motion's passed, by the way. There was no opposing. All right, now we'll go to historic landmark resolution number 184-22. And this is for the landmarks application of, glad you put that in there last time, Eric. 195-21. And this is for the one on East 4th Street. And I think there's 4 conditions of approval there also. Okay, we can stand a motion to get this done, and we can move on to the benchmarks.
I'll move to approve resolution HLC 184-22, approving application HLC number 195-21 of the Dalles Main Street and Wall Dogs with the 4 conditions of approval. Thank you, Don.
I'll second that.
Oh, okay, I was looking for Bev to jump in there.
I was trying to keep someone else their turn.
I was giving her a break.
Thank you. My arm was getting sore. Thanks, Eric.
All in favor, say aye. Or raise your hand.
Aye.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. John, thank you for coming today. You did a great job.
Yeah, thank you for everyone, your approval on that and all your hard work on the Historic Landmark Commission.
And we'll see you next month, John.
Sounds good.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Okay, the next item on our agenda, I believe, unless somebody slipped something in there, is that we've got to go for goal setting.
We
for the year
do.
2022.
22.
And so got to think about older men setting for a long while. So let's move on to what we
Okay.
gotta do and get it done.
You all know I can talk fast, so I promise I'll speak with dictation and enunciation so that I don't tend to ramble on. However, just to kind of go over the previous way that we have been, I think it's like our 4th or 5th year, we've actually been doing our goal setting as short-term goals, which is 1 to 2 years, long-term goals, 3 to 5, and then continuous goals, which I think seems to work well. And I went ahead and included the last year, so we can kind of go down bullet points, remove, change, add, alter, anything that you would like. And would you all like me to just kind of go through each bullet item and then maybe talk through it just pretty quick? Okay. So the first one we have is encourage preservation and reuse of the Waldron Gitchell building. I think that's pretty evident that that's still pretty high on your list. Eric, thank you for the report earlier, and hopefully we get some additional information coming soon. So would you all agree that does need to remain? Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
Number 2, I kind of talked about this a little bit when we talked about the demolition by neglect, looking to update historic ordinances and design standards. I do not have that for a SHPO grant this year, but it's something maybe that I need to take a look at and possibly go for a grant the next year. And I would like it to remain if you guys would agree that we also potentially take a look specifically at the demolition, neglected buildings in our inventory, so that we ensure that we're not going to have anything being demolished that doesn't necessarily need to be.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So the third one, I kind of touched a little bit on our on the SHPO grant and maybe looking again next year. And I think it'd be important for us to keep this. I am also going to be talking with Dan Spots of the Columbia Gorge Community College. He has talked with Lucian Swerdoff from Clatsop Community College about potentially bringing some of the restoration or historic restoration programs to our local community college, which I think would be amazing for our high school kids and kids that are looking to get into a trade, because we all know college isn't for everybody, but trades are something that are in dire need of people being professionally trained so that they can actually go into the workforce. So that would be provide a historic restoration workshop for local homeowners and contractors. We could keep that. What I might suggest is maybe I add, encourage our local community college to look into historic restoration courses or something like that. Is that something you guys would be interested in? I'm going to do it anyway, but we could add it. So it seems like.
Yeah,
something-
no, that
Good
sounds
idea.
good.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree.
Quick. Historic, okay. CGCC, okay, historic classes or preservation classes. Okay,
Can I intercede here for 1 minute?
absolutely.
My picture says that we've lost Doug. And I really, there you are. Can you talk with us at all, Doug? No.
He's on mute still.
Okay, all right. I just didn't want to leave him out as one of our commissioners. And if there was any way we could get him in on this discussion, I would like to make an effort.
There he is. He's there.
Yeah, I see him. He can
I
wave
saw it
to
on
me.
the screen and I didn't know I should push it. Sorry about that.
All right, I'm sorry, Don, but
You're good.
Come on now.
You are totally good. Okay, so here we are. Next one we have is collaborate with Main Street and the Dalles Art Center on further downtown restoration project goals. Any additions or changes to that? Nope, go ahead and keep it. We do have a new Main Street director and she's kind of taken off running. So I'm kind of excited to see what's ahead for Main Street. So she's got a pretty good set of goals and ideas. So I'm kind of excited to see what else she has to offer our community. Next one we have is support the restoration and preservation of the Civic Auditorium building. We've had that on since the beginning of time. I think it's up to you guys if we want to keep it on here. I think they have continued doing restoration projects. I think that I want to say that their oh my gosh, Auditorium is actually operable now. Does anyone know?
It's up and it's almost finished. Yeah,
Almost
my
finished.
mother is like treasurer on their board, so I'm always helping her over there. And yeah, getting close to completion. Just finished putting away all the Christmas decorations the other day, so I was a little slow on that.
Oh, Forrest. Okay, so probably want to go ahead and keep that since that is one of our pretty big treasures in our community.
Yes.
Okay, so the next one we've got is support the creation of walking tours of historic properties, Pioneer Cemetery, and encourage historic building open hours. So in terms of walking tours, it's something that we are continuing to do with granting monies that are helped or facilitated through SHPO through you. Pioneer Cemetery, I did talk with my director today, and we've talked about this a couple times, about getting an interactive map of our Pioneer Cemetery, in that we actually take Eric and Jackie's survey work and pinpoint those property owners so that somebody can have like a app in their hand and they can walk by and it'll say, so-and-so is, John Doe is buried here. Everyone that we don't have located in terms of burial sites, we would probably just tag to the big monument up front so that if somebody went online, they could easily type that in. So I'm going to be working with the Wasco County GIS to see if we can do that. And then if it takes a little bit more money or takes something outside of what we're capable of doing, I'll be looking for a Oregon Historic or Cemetery Commission on Historic Cemetery grant the next cycle, not this year.
Just a quick question on that. So we're linking to the grave of the individual, but then would it link like information to if they had a home in the Dalles as well to
Ooh.
link on that tour?
We could. That's probably going to be a whole nother level. That might actually end up bumping us to needing like something like AutoCast to do something like that. So I was trying to go affordable and see what we could use with our
Simple.
existing tools.
Yeah.
Frugal. So many years I've been a city employee. You usually know you don't have much money to work with. So, so yeah, I mean, and I can add that. I could just when I'm talking with our GIS coordinator at the county, I can include that. Seeing if that's something that he would be able to do. Okay. The next one we have is encourage preservation and continued use of rock fort by adopted preservation and maintenance plan. And I want to admit or confess that we haven't really been super active. And as some of you know, we do have this approved maintenance plan that we received a grant. Wow, back in 2011. So we do have one in play, and I'm thinking I probably need to sit down and maybe when we have a meeting that is not super full, maybe we kind of go through some of the suggestions in terms of what to do for preservation. And it's pretty basic because we want to keep it native, but I would like to revisit that with you all so that I can get some guidance on, maybe looking for additional granting opportunities in the future.
Don, Mr. Eggy, that's one of his key places. When we have visitors, we always go there. It's an important spot. So he might be a resource for you because he's a fan of that spot.
Free labor, free volunteers. I like those volunteers.
You can't hear me in the other room, so don't tell anyone.
We're just being recorded, Bev. You're fine. It'll be okay.
All right.
Okay, so does that sound, do you guys want to go ahead and keep that on? Okay, yes. This next one, and we can still keep it on here. In talking with other jurisdictions, obviously we've had it on here for a few years. Encourage and or support addition of a student representative. Getting an individual on actively involved and coming to the meetings. The other jurisdictions, Newburgh was the example that I had followed. They still have not had luck, and then COVID hit, obviously, so we don't really have that input. But I don't know if is that something you guys are still interested in, or maybe looking at trying to do something different.
It would be good if you could get somebody to do it.
And maybe our partnership or, working with the new skills center up at the college, we can get the professor that does the shop, or that is the shop professor, that maybe he can get a student interested. The great thing is he actually owns one of the old historic Shano houses in Trevitt's Historic District. So we have a little bit of an in. So maybe let's keep it on there, and then I'll start working with Mr. Robert Wells Clark and see if he has any input or is able to help formulate a person that would be interested. Okay, next one we have is provide informational signage at Pioneer Cemetery regarding history, landscaping, and maintenance. So I talked to you a little bit about some of the plaques that we were looking at getting fabricated up at the college and then printed by Optimus printers. So this is something, once I get those prices for that, I may actually look to and talk with my director about adding some budget money so that we can get that in the budget for next year and actually get some of those plaques placed up there. Obviously, any of the verbiage that goes on it will come before you just for a review, and not necessarily an application, but I'll bring it to you before we decide to go ahead and place it. And Eric, I would probably lean on you pretty heavily to assist me in writing what needs to be said about that Pioneer Cemetery.
Sure.
Okay, so we have quite a few that are going to be checked off on this list this year. That's great. Paint and provide maintenance for existing fencing and walkways at Pioneer Cemetery. We do have money set aside for our continued maintenance of Pioneer Cemetery, so that remains. The fencing continues to be a question on, can we get in there and get it painted? Our maintenance guys are pretty confident that this next year that we may be able to get that done. So we'll see. Next one, encourage the fabrication and installation of historic plaques throughout the community, including Pulpit Rock and Amaton Field. So kind of like I mentioned with the Pioneer Cemetery, it would be those three that I would be looking at, hoping that the city could fund. Right now we're looking at, there's going to be about $80 a piece, which is a lot cheaper than what they were a few years ago. Yeah. They were like 150, I think, a few years ago. So having the college actually cut that metal out is going to be huge cost savings if we can make it all work. So I think that's great. And then obviously, once I get the price, I'll be sending out letters to all the historic property owners that have plaques and seeing if anybody would like those, and then letting them know how they go about purchasing those. So moving forward on that. Would you like to go ahead and keep that in there as a short-term goal?
Yeah, it sounds like it's a goal that we're working towards in the short term. So, or you're working towards.
Yeah, it's fun. I'll start bringing you guys along for the ride.
Don, who
Yes.
will do the printing of those?
So right now, as you all may remember me telling you, Lee from Lee's Better Letters no longer makes, he retired, he finally retired, and he was out of Portland. The college, we're working with the college to have the actual blanks made, and we've been working with Optimus printers, and they would be actually putting the lettering on there, and it'll be a little bit different. So it won't be screen printed on like the old ones. It will be a vinyl type letter, but it has the longevity as those historic plaques do. So,
thank you.
Yep, you bet. Okay, let's see, current fabrication. Okay, the next one we have is create a concept design for historic building plaques. And I don't know if you guys remember, this was one that Carolyn Wood had talked with us, and maybe we need to revisit a little bit more. She wanted to do something where we were kind of giving like a history, and it was like a small plaque that gave like the years that certain businesses were at that location. So we really haven't moved forward on that idea, but it was kind of like former tenants used to be, similar to these, but it was just a little bit smaller and provided just a little bit more who was here and when they were here, kind of like land use wise.
Dawn, this is sort of on the subject that, Brownsville, Oregon, where Mr. Eggy grew up, it's a little historic town, and almost every house in that town has a small plaque that just has the year it was, like the year it was built, and the name of the person that built the house. And it's really, it's so interesting because you see immediately how old the house is, and it'd be like 1865 Ben Snipes. That'd be it. You wouldn't have all the copies. It's just a small thing. And when I was first on the chamber board, I brought that up and showed the pictures. I couldn't get anyone interested, so I kind of dropped it. But this might be a better place to bring that up. It's something that wouldn't just be in the historic area. It'd be houses all over. I don't know. We'd have to set a, it couldn't be like last year type of thing. It'd have to have a certain age criteria to be.
Which we could, anything that was locally landmarked all the way up to our national landmark, we could do something like that. So that, Eric has a historic property that has a state historic preservation plaque on it. I think it's brass, isn't it, Eric?
I think they were just aluminum ones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But it's special assessment properties, or properties that go through this certain program at the state actually have those on their property. So, we can definitely take a look at it. And, right now with me talking with Optimus and working with the Art Center, it might be a great time to include that conversation about maybe we need to look at seeing if everybody would like just a little plaque on the property.
Yeah, I kind of like that idea because it's kind of simple and straightforward. And if we make them so that they're, large enough scale, that's the problem with those special assessment ones, is you got to kind of be 3 feet away to see them. But if you have something that can be kind of visible from the sidewalk, that would be just perfect.
I'll get a picture. I think Alan has some pictures of it, and I'll bring it to one of our meetings if we ever see each other in person, or I'll just.
That would be great. And Bev, if you too, are they just put on the building, or some of them, are they put out front, like on a little stick or post?
It seems like it was actually on the building,
Okay.
but that's just from my memory.
Okay.
Don, I have a question too. Is the
Yes.
college only willing to make these plaques for us if it's a certain material? Because like Eric just pointed out, they could be brass, aluminum. Like, I didn't realize there could be so many different type of plaque materials here, but.
So I don't know, what I went with was the metal and the gauge that we have currently on these, which are, these are pretty substantial. This one was the one in front of the Gitchell building, our favorite building, or Waldron drug listed here. And this one was on a post. So, it obviously has 4 holes where you could attach it to the building. Bev has one on the front of her historic home. Eric, do you have one at your home? You do not.
Not yet.
There's one of our first ones we're going to sell right there.
Yeah.
But I mean, so that's the material that we've used. They do have another material, and let me show you that. Mr. Hartung brought this from Oregon City. They actually have signs in downtown Oregon Historic City, and they're made of what they call Alumilite. And we do allow this as a sign in the Dalles, and I can show you. It's basically a bond with vinyl over it. Let's see if I can get in there. It has a aluminum core, and then it's a really light material. I mean, it's super light. I was a little reluctant just because our other ones are substantial. And I was like, I don't know if we wanted but this could be something that we could potentially do on the properties, basically stating, location. I don't know. They may have I don't know, Forest, maybe they have etching abilities, or, that something says, locally landmarked, or that we could have it like 3D. I don't know. I could check that out and definitely get back. That'd be kind of cool if we had something designed a little bit more.
Exactly. I'm just thinking longevity and what, like I'm sure each material has a certain look and last to it. I'm just curious what our options would be.
No, go ahead. That's fine. I think that would be great. I'll check to see what they're capable of doing, and maybe that's something we look at as a project to take on.
The workshop, they do a lot of things in wood. That might be a place if we're going to go to that material, and they're local and they do a great job.
Yes, they do. I love their stuff. Absolutely do. Okay, well, let me look into that a little bit more, and we'll go ahead and keep that as a short-term goal. And then Bev, if you can get me a copy of or a picture or something, then we can share it at one of our meetings. That would be awesome.
Okay.
The next one we have is encourage the preservation and restoration of City Hall. And I don't know if any of you have seen a city council meeting. Well, we don't have them in person yet. City council chambers has been remodeled, so no more wood paneling.
Oh, wow.
And they actually, when they went through, right? It's seriously, it almost takes your breath away. So Izetta actually the city clerk took your goal and, let council know, hey, HLC really wants to see this remodeled and continue. So there we go. So you guys helped play a part in getting that room restored. That wood paneling was a little bit much. Okay, and then the last one that we have listed is apply for a grant to create a preservation plan for the Dalles. So up to you. We can definitely keep that on there, and that might be something that I could morph into maybe the next round, along with some code revisions, if that's something.
Yeah, that seems like it'd be something kind of appropriate for our SHPO grant.
Yes, and Curry, our CLG coordinator, she does encourage us to. She loves our project. I will say the walking tour, the mural, the table, the coffee table book. I spent probably 30 minutes talking out of her 45 the other day. She's super excited about this project. So we've got that. We've got a little feather in our cap, but she did encourage us to do preservation plans, maybe inventory, taking a look at revising or updating some inventories, things like that. So may not be as fun, but it's something that's necessary.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we've done an inventory.
Yeah, and and Sally Donovan's niece actually, I think is qualified to do that. So I haven't reached out to Bruce recently, but I think she would be potentially interested, and I think that would be pretty cool. Okay, so we'll jump into
on this grant, Don. Is that something that would put a tremendous workload on your office?
Yeah, and that's kind of why I have to be, we can go for grants, but, I'm in the middle of doing a ton of land use code revisions right now. So my time involvement is, and I've always told you guys, and I do love you all very much, and this commission very much, but my time involvement with you is such a small piece. I can't really overload with HLC projects because I just don't have the time. So that's why maybe, every the good thing about it is every 18 months, we can look at a project and maybe one project that I can help facilitate.
Well, I was just thinking if this is something that probably should be kind of recommended to the city council, so that they can appropriate a few extra dollars to help us apply for a grant if we find one.
Right. So what happens is when I go out to apply for a grant, I work with the finance director prior to, so in the budgeting cycle. Typically my time involvement is used as match, but there have been times where we hire a consultant and it's far exceeds my match in terms of time. And we do actually fund money. So for example, me applying for this next round of state historic preservation funds, we are putting forth $10,500 that I'll be able to draw from and then be reimbursed. So we actually go during budget cycle to plan for these grant opportunities.
Don,
Yes.
I don't know whether we would want to possibly add something, but we have encouraging different things on this. And I can't even remember which building it was, but it happens once in a while when I'm driving downtown and I look at the front or the side of the building, and then the alley is really a mess. It's a completely different color and, and not restored or taken care of at all. And I don't know whether that's something that we could encourage property owners to do. I know a lot of them would say, well, that's the alley. What do you care what that looks like? But some of the alleys, for example, have neat metal doors and interesting architectural features on them. But just making the color wrap around would make them look better too. I don't know if that's something we would want to encourage or add or not.
I think that's great, Doug. And in a lot of communities, especially when you have deep buildings, and we're looking at potentially allowing, some mixed use and or residential type uses in downtown, where you've got 50 feet of building and a small little business, 50 feet is too much. So let's chop it in half and make access come from the alleyway, which I think we're a little ahead. But some communities, the alleyways are where it's happening. And in downtown Portland, there's a couple places you walk down the alleys and it's almost as exciting as the facades on the front. So
yeah,
we could add a condition or a goal that says encourage historic property owners to restore alley facades. As simple as that, or do you want a little bit more?
No, that sounds good.
You can start with that anyway.
Okay, let's do that. So encourage historic property owners to restore alley facade. And what we could do too is when we get an application, I could encourage them at the time that they're working on a facade, then we can say, what about the alleyway? See if there's some assistance there. Okay. Anything else you guys want to add? Nope. I'm gonna start. Okay. I'm gonna lose you guys, so I'm gonna try to go fast. So long-term goals, 3 to 5 years. We're getting into the dinner time, past the dinner time. This one, we continue to hope someday in the future that the Fort Dalles Museum will have its vehicle storage display building constructed. I don't know, Eric, is that something that's still on hold or still, potentially?
Yeah, it's still a possibility. So, yeah, and I think right now we're looking at just a small expansion and kind of improvement of one of the existing buildings as opposed to a whole new building. But I think that goal kind of covers it.
Okay. The second one, I want to talk a little bit about this, and we don't have to spend a ton of time on it just because it gets a little bit political, but support and advocate preservation and continued use of the Dalles High School as well as Colonel Wright Elementary. I think that we should definitely keep that in there. I do know that there has been some pretty heavy discussions about removing the Colonel Wright from the elementary school just due to how do I say this? Information regarding his mistreatment of Native Americans or Indigenous peoples. I I catch it on Facebook every once in a while and I'm like, oh my gosh. So we can definitely keep this, or what we can do is we can change it to continued use of our historic schools, or we can say our historic high school and elementary schools if we want to get rid of Colonel Wright. I want to be sensitive, but I don't want to be inappropriate. So I don't know if you guys have any ideas.
I kind of like it because it specifically calls out the schools, and it, like, at least for now,
I don't
it
have a
is
problem.
called Colonel Wright School. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe they'll change the name at some
If-
point, and then we can change our goal.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was looking for.
I agree.
Tourist, okay. The next one we have is encourage continued preservation and infill of historic Chinatown. So as I don't know if any of you've been downtown recently to take a look at Todd Carpenter's projects. You guys have reviewed him many times, but it's kind of exciting to see how he's finished up some touch on the old Empress building and the old Horn Saloon portions, and then the bowling alley is going to be underway pretty quick here. So we'll be seeing some of his plans finally come into play. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah, it looks good.
And then we really haven't had much in terms of applications and or interest in those parcels that are next to the old Chu Key building. But is that right, Eric? Is it the Chu Key?
No, it's the Wing Hong High. The Chu
Wing
Key
Hong
is that partial facade that's there,
Okay. So
but it is called Chu Key on the National Register.
that's
so-
right. That's right. There we go. There's a reason for an update. So, but I do anticipate in the coming year with our First Street project that we may show some interest depending on economy and what's playing out. But I think it would be a really good one to keep that in there, just because we want to make sure that it is historically appropriate as well as sensitive to the highly sensitive archaeological area. Would you all agree?
I agree.
Yeah.
The last one we have here is encourage restoration and preservation of Pioneer Cemetery and establish an inventory link on the city's website. So I'm working on that. We can go ahead and keep that there, or we can bump that up to short term if you want, because it's something that I'm hoping to get done in the next year, 2 years. Do you think that'd be a good idea?
I think so, because it's also going along with the rest of the Pioneer Cemetery work that we have in our short-term goals.
Perfect. Okay, move to short-term goals. Okay, any more long-term goals that any of you have or are interested in adding? Nope. Okay, I'm going to jump into continuous goals. So continuous goals, we had facilitate educational assistance to help restorers with assessment and other historic preservation needs. And we don't really have tons of that anymore, but I do help facilitate as well as get in contact with the State Historic Preservation Office. So I think that's still probably a good one to keep. This one we have not done, and I apologize for, when our newspaper folded or closed, it's kind of something that we really haven't had a venue or an outlet. But I will say that the beautification committee does do recognition of any type of beautification projects in our community. And maybe what I can do is talk with Mayor Mays and see if this is something that he may, maybe we incorporate some historic properties or maybe include that. And then we can keep it on there, and then I can, maybe talk to him about that committee looking into it also.
Oh, that sounds like a good synergy.
Okay. Alrighty. Third one, encourage historic restoration for downtown by providing historic background research. So we still kind of do that. A lot of it is self-guided. I say, of course, obviously COVID, but I send people to the library, out to the Gorge Discovery Center. Oh, and before I forget, oh my gosh, I just totally drew a blank right there. Carolyn Wood, up until February 14th, She has photos that haven't been seen in quite some time on display out at the Discovery Center. So if you get an opportunity, get out there. I'm going to try to sneak out half of a day and go out and try to stealthily watch and take a look and maybe a picture or two, or get a copy of some of the pictures out there. So some of the cool historic buildings in downtown. So I'm thinking they're Pat May's boards. Eric, do you know if they're Pat May's old boards?
I think so. I think they're the Pioneer Association board.
Where is it? I was just there about a week ago. Is it in downstairs, or where are these pictures?
What did she say? It was in some hall. Let me look here really quick and I could probably tell you. She said from Carolyn Wood. In the River Gallery at the Columbia Gorge Discovery Center.
Is that the main, when you first come in, where the river's in the, it just must not have been up when I was there. We took the kids.
There we go. Okay.
Never mind. I'll go back.
Go back. I will be going back too. Okay. Oh, whoops. I lost my screen. Oops.
Sorry, Dawn.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm going to go here from current slide. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay. Next one. Historic background. Okay. Is encourage the collection of preservation of local history, including irreplaceable oral and written histories. So I do need to touch base with Roger Nichols. He has offered to not only do some of the audios of the walking tour that we have with AutoCast, but he is also still working heavily on some of those oral histories. Bob McNary, is Mr. Jerry Tanquist still with us?
Yes, he is.
Awesome. I need to reach out to him because the owner of the Mr. Hartung is interested in talking with Jerry about the history of his Great Southern Railroad train station. And Eric probably remembers. Yeah.
I don't like to admit this in public, but I have 2 videos that Jerry has passed on to me that I haven't opened up. But they're about Southern Pacific, and I think they're about the Celilo Canal also.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, we'll somehow, maybe we can have like a show and tell at one of our meetings. I would love something like that. Okay. Maintain certified local government status. That's kind of a no-brainer. We get money, usually get about 10 to 12,000 every couple of years to help us with some projects. Super great program. Love working with them. The next one, assistant historic plaque costs and availability. So I'm working on the availability. The cost is going to be another one that's going to be, I haven't asked for budgeting money for that. So that's something that we may want to take a look at in the future. Keeping historic walking tours in all formats. And that was something that the chamber felt was very important because a lot of people still are very tactile and want that pamphlet, which John Lehman did mention that they're going to be doing a pamphlet for the walking tour, or excuse me, for the wall dogs. But I'm hoping that we can also have that in electronic form. So stop me if you guys need me to. Increase communication on all urban renewal projects, visions, and goals. I know Eric has been actively involved in some of the urban renewal projects and specifically the First Street project, but Bob, did you have something more on that?
Well, I have asked for advocated, I should say, that someone from the Historic Landmark Commission would have a seat at the table for the urban renewal meeting. And, I don't know how to go about that other than keep asking, I guess. But it could be something that we would like to have our person explain it to us rather than read it in the paper. And the paper is not very helpful at this point.
I am on the Urban Renewal Budget Committee, but that only meets like once a year and it doesn't really have a whole lot of oversight on what projects they're doing. It's just their budget, really. Just wanted to make that known.
And Eric is typically partially due to his professional background, but Eric is and a property owner is on many stakeholder lists for for most of the projects downtown. I think you've been pretty active in meetings, correct, Eric?
Not so much after COVID, but
Okay.
yeah, I do try and at least the First Street stuff I've been trying to be pretty active with.
Okay, well, Bob, I will reach out to the city clerk tomorrow and inquire as to a process, and as well as I'll talk to my director, who is the head of the Urban Renewal Agency, and see if we can get, if that's something that's even a potential, and it could be something like advisory or something similar to like what you have, where the museum commission comes in and is here as a member, but not a voting member. Okay, last one we have is increased communication with Main Street for all projects, visions and goals pertaining to historic projects. So I think that's a great one, but my suggestion would be to add Main Street and the Dalles Art Center, because they have been pretty involved in obviously involved in some of our projects, but they really have a great vision and are very concerned and interested in historic preservation and education. So is that something that you guys would be wanting also to add, Main Street and the Dalles Art Center?
Sounds good.
Yeah, that sounds excellent.
Okay. Anything more that you guys want to add?
Excuse me, Dawn.
Yes.
We skipped one.
Oh, did we?
Update historic inventories and encourage new nominations
Oh,
to local and national registry districts.
thank you, Paula. Sorry about that. And that I think we talked about that too, with maybe a potential granting opportunity in the future. So let me know. I mean, is that something you guys want to definitely keep on there?
I think we should keep it.
Especially we need to start with Eric's property at least. get that right data. Well, and then I think I also shared with you all regarding two of the Donnell houses located in the Trevitz Historic District. The inventory sheets basically did not match, in that the person that supposedly a house was built for her, and she was 5 years deceased. So I was like trying to figure out how did this happen? And anyway, it happens. So we had some errors in there. The unfortunate thing is one plaque was already created. So now we have to kind of go back and redo that plaque once we get that history resolved. Okay, anything more?
I can't think of anything to add.
So this
go
is
ahead,
going back to your mention about the photo boards at the Discovery Center.
Yes.
So those are kind of up as part of there's all the local historical groups try and get together once a year around Valentine's Day, which is the state's birthday. And they have a cake and everybody kind of meets and they talk about what the different historical groups are doing. So this year that's taking place at the Discovery Center on the 13th of February from 2 to 5. So in case anybody wants to go and attend.
Super Bowl. Oh my goodness. Super Bowl day. That's all right.
Is it the same time? Oh, well,
It's Super Bowl's a little late this year. I don't know why.
I guess so.
Well, history Super Bowl. I'm not.
Maybe you can sneak out at halftime or something.
Yes, yes. But usually that's what I prefer out of everything, is the halftime.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay, well, yes. And I think, obviously I'll try to get out there and take a look. But Carolyn Wood was really ranting about how a lot of these photos have not been out for many years. So, and maybe some of us have never seen him. Eric shared a couple photos with me the other day and I was like, I haven't seen these before. This is amazing. So good stuff.
Yeah, the Oregon Historical Society has been really putting up a lot of digital images. So it's good to kind of check their website every once in a while and see what's new.
You could copy over. Okay. Well, I want to tell you all, thank you. Those last 2 years, I've missed you and not being in person. I know it's been difficult. We've all learned some new skills that we never knew we had or ever imagined having to have. Bob, thank you for running these meetings. I know sometimes you get a little frustrated, but I I appreciate you plugging along, and I hope if you guys ever need anything, you can just reach out to me. So I'm just an email away. If you need my text, I can shoot you my cell phone. Eric has it and Bob has it. So let me know. But you guys are a true joy to work with. I just want to let you know that.
Ditto. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Yes. Okay.
Any further items that we need to discuss? I don't know what for the discussion item. I feel that was the whole goal setting was the discussion item. So unless someone else has got something that they need to say, the hour is getting late. My dinner's getting cold. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
You're holding true to court. You're holding.
Good for something.
I'll make the motion that we adjourn, and Bev got the second in. So
Thank you.
I thank you all for suffering through this, and not suffering, but working with it, working together. I don't know how we do it sometimes, and I'm looking forward to. I've had a commitment several times that we can go back to sitting around a half circle. Today was a bad day to ask when it's even thought about again, but we're quite a group, and we need to stay close to each other and understand each other. And we're going to find out why we still have an applicant open. Don't we have a position?
We don't. We actually, you guys are full. When you said that earlier, I was like, what? So we are full. So it's a 5-member.
We are. That's right. I got our 5 members.
You are 5 members, and then we have our museum representative.
Well, that's good
Okay.
information. Someone sent me an email from our neighborhood that lives in a historic home that wanted to be on it. And I was going to ask that and I totally forgot. So thank you. Now I have the answer for this now.
There we go. So no openings, not yet.
We have like
There-
a bench
There's an
now.
opening at Fort Dalles.
I'll tell her.
Yep.
Julie's like, yes.
Anyhow, we enjoy your company, Julie. So come back. Please do. All right, I'm going away. You people, I don't know who's Peter Bradford?
Peter he's our IT. So Peter hangs out to make sure everything is good. We don't have anybody coming in and posting inappropriate things during our meetings. So we're safe. Just to let you guys know, I did mention it earlier. We're going to be having meetings pretty much every month because we've got like 16 of these wall dog murals. So be ready. I'm kind of excited to see the other locations.
Looking forward to seeing all your faces.
Yay. Okay. Bye guys. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Appreciate you all.